Hao, it's Ruby Velvetina, and welcome back to my channel. So I've been kind of busy this week because I have a new little friend. So my dad found this little honeybee in our backyard, walking in circles, not attempting to fly. So he caught it, and then he brought it to me to take care of because I'm the animal person in the family. I have a pet betta fish of my own, and when I have other animal visitors, I am the one who is taking care of them. So I'm the animal family. I'm the animal person. So my dad wanted me to take care of her, so I took her in and I've been caring for her. But this experience has really made me think about another little friend that I really never stopped thinking about, but it really reminds me of that situation. And that little friend is a little butterfly named Coffee Ovaltine, and I want to, share it with you guys and, just ramble about it. So this video is not going to be as organized. So, before I bore you guys, let's get into, Coffee and my story with Coffee. So anyways, so I met Coffee Ovaltine at my job. My students found Coffee because it's butterfly season. So they found Coffee and they put Coffee on it. They scooped up Coffee on a stick and they brought it to me. They're like, hey, Miss Ruby, we found a butterfly. And I don't like my students really interacting with the wildlife because kids are not exactly the most gentle with animals, and really I just didn't want them bothering the wildlife, so I told them to put it down. And I felt bad because I know they're curious, but at the same time I didn't want them bothering the wildlife, so I told them to put it down. They put it down, and one of my students ended up trying to kick dirt over it, which I got really upset about, and was, obviously I berated that student. I was like, no, don't do that. So I took a stick, got the butterfly, and put it on a tree. That way my students cannot get to it and bother it. But then I realized something about this butterfly, and that it had a torn wing. Like, I'll put a picture of it, but you could see that almost half its wing is gone. And, any damage to a butterfly's wing jeopardizes its flying, and flight is very important to butterflies because that's how, they get food. That's how they're going to travel. That's how they're going to escape predators. So, this butterfly was not going to be able to do that well, and my coworker echoed this sentiment when I shared that the butterfly has torn wing, and the coworker was like, oh, it's probably going to get eaten by a bird. And that was the moment that all logic went out the window, and I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to take care of this butterfly, but I know for one thing, I will not let it get eaten by a bird without a fighting chance. So I went inside, I got a coffee cup, scooped up the butterfly, and took it home. And I was not prepared to take care of this butterfly. I had no insect keep. I really had no idea what I was going to do with this butterfly, but I knew that it was going to, but all I wanted was that it had a better end than it would have had. So I went home, I got a container that, was available to me, which was a strawberry container that you would get at, like, the grocery store. So I got that. I put paper towel on the bottom so it had a soft landing. And I put it in there, and then I fed it watermelon because I looked up that they can eat watermelon. Watermelon's pretty good food for them. So I gave it watermelon, and it was pretty inactive for the first few days. My dad, so why is this butterfly named Coffee Ovaltine? So I named it Coffee because it's brown, and coffee's brown. But my dad suggested that we name it Ovaltine because both me and my dad actually are not big coffee fans. And so I didn't want to get rid of the name Coffee, so I decided to name it Coffee Ovaltine, so that's how it got its name and stuff. So anyways, so Coffee started, as Coffee settled in and, recognized that, there was food and stuff, and, got settled in, it started becoming more active. It started flapping its wings and, just walking around. And I remember how happy I was to see this because there was an improvement. I honestly didn't even think it would survive the first night with me. I thought it was going to die like the very first day, but I was surprised. It lasted 5 days with me. It lasted almost a week with me. And so yeah, so the whole time until, we'll discuss it later, I wanted to fix Coffee's wing. So if there's one thing that I don't want to do is keep a wild animal away from nature. I really wanted Coffee to go back to nature so it could fly free and so it can, be free, because if it's with me, I have it contained and stuff. It can't really like move around as much as it likes. So I really wanted to be free. So I thought about fixing its wing, and I looked up videos on how to do it and stuff, and I was preparing myself to do it. I had no experience fixing a butterfly's wing, and honestly, I recommend, if you are in my situation with a butterfly with a damaged wing, I would suggest probably not to attempt fixing its wing, because it is very difficult to fix a butterfly's wing. A butterfly's wing is very delicate. Just simply touching it with your hands can, damage the wing. So I do recommend that you don't take that risk. But I was ready to do it. I was going to do anything to make sure that this butterfly got to go home. Unfortunately, I was never able to attempt it, which is probably a blessing in disguise for Coffee, because one of Coffee's wings ended up falling off, which meant that, whatever happened to Coffee before we met, it was injured and it could not go back to the wild. And I knew when that wing fell off, there was no way Coffee would be going back to the wild. So I kept Coffee, and then on the 5th day, Coffee passed away. I remember going to go see how it was doing, and I couldn't find it, and then I found it laying still in a paper towel, curled up. Coffee was gone. I buried Coffee underneath our azalea bushes that we had at the time, and I still remember the exact place where Coffee is buried. I wanted Coffee to be under the azalea bushes, even though I don't think Coffee species is attracted to azalea, but it's a flower. I wanted it to be with the flowers, and I wanted it to be back in nature, even in death, so I buried it. And, my mom told me that, wild animals should be in the wild. They belong there. But I couldn't let this butterfly that, wouldn't have flown well because of that torn wing, I just couldn't let it be in the wild and, get eaten by a bird just so easily. I just couldn't do it, Like, I know people say let nature take its course, don't interrupt the wildlife, but I just felt so much pity for this butterfly. There was no logic, as I said. I just had to give this butterfly a more gentle end and stuff. And sometimes I do feel guilty for taking in this butterfly because I basically took it away from its home, but, it was at a stage, it was in a state where, unfortunately, it couldn't live on its own. So I believe, even though with some guilt, that I gave it a more gentle end, because it was, it died being cared for. It died being in a place where it didn't have to worry about getting eaten by a bird. And, as I said, and, even to this day, I still remember everything so clearly. I remember how excited I was to, see it every day. I remember, how happy I was to see it, so-called, like, improving, and stuff. Most likely, it was not improving. It just had, unfortunately, sometimes when animals are on the decline, sometimes they'll have, like, a spike of activity and then slow down. But I was still happy to see it moving, and I remember when I saw the little holes in the watermelon, I remember I was so happy to know that it was eating, and I could see its, like, little hairs and stuff. And Coffee, quickly became a part of my routine. I would wake up, I would change its paper towels so it had a clean house, and I would give it fresh watermelon. I ended up running out of watermelon, though, so I tried feeding it banana, and I thought the banana probably caused Coffee's death, but most likely the banana did not cause Coffee's death, and, the injury or the, end of its life caused Coffee's death, and Coffee just, died due to natural causes or, the injury that happened to it. So, yeah, but I never felt so sad about an insect. I like butterflies, but I never knew I could love one as deeply as I did Coffee. And I feel so silly to this day, missing Coffee and, still being affected by its passing, because it's a butterfly. I didn't have it for very long. I had it for 5 days. But I remember I was very sad when Coffee passed away, and I still am sad. I wish Coffee was here. honestly, because coffee, as I said, became a part of my routine, and I put time into this butterfly. I put time, energy, and thoughts into this butterfly. I remember, wanting this butterfly to live. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to it, but unfortunately, even though we don't want to say goodbye and stuff, unfortunately life, you know, makes us say goodbye even when we're not ready. And I shared this to other people and stuff, and I remember one person told me that, unfortunately the price for love is, the sadness that comes when they are gone, and people told me, you probably gave it a good life and probably had the best time and stuff. I don't really know if it had the best time of its life with me. I don't know. But, yeah. I guess they're right, because I came to love this butterfly, and unfortunately, the price for love is expecting, to say goodbye to them when it's time and stuff. So, yeah, even to this day, there's not really a day that I don't think about coffee and stuff. I think about coffee very frequently because I just remember the pity, the feelings, the love and stuff that, I felt with coffee. I don't regret taking care of coffee because honestly, I feel taking care of coffee helped me kind of have the confidence to take care of my new friend, my new patient and stuff. But I will say it's still a hard experience to lose an animal that you invested time to take care of and stuff. But I'm still grateful for the opportunity, and I'll always remember coffee no matter what. I was able to get 4 pictures of it. I wish I got more, but honestly, at the time, I was just busy caring for it and enjoying it. So I didn't take much pictures, but here are the pictures I have of it. So, yeah. So I guess, to end this video off, I guess I want to say, thank you, coffee. I miss you every day. I love you very much. And I hope, wherever you are over the Rainbow Bridge, you're flying unlike you were able to in life. And I hope that you're free and you're drinking all the nectar you want. And I hope you're happy. And, thank you for the experience. And I am very thankful that we crossed paths. And I'll never forget you. So, yeah. 再见.